From the book of Lord Meher, titled Love is Weeping, 1927. The arrival of the 14 boys from Persia in July brought in its wake the arrival of many other Muslim boys from Bombay, including 11-year-old Ali Akbar Shahpurzaman, later nicknamed Aluba. Among the 14 boys from Persia was one also named Ali Akbar, who had a most intense spiritual nature. During this period, this boy began expressing great love and devotion for Baba and was later nicknamed Majnun. The following is Ramjoo's vivid description of the Persian boy Ali Akbar. The intensity of Ali Akbar's love towards the master is unique. None can come to the intense level of his highly active love, which always keep him on being restless. He is seldom seen in one place for long or sitting calmly. When Ali Akbar first joined MEHER Ashram, he used to be quite disinterested in discussion about love for God and spirituality. He would not only show open disinclination for divinity, but used to fight shy of all such subjects and would remain as aloof as possible from meditation and concentration. But at the first exit of Agha Ali, the hero, Ali Akbar became all of a sudden surcharged with the divine grace of the master. He began to roll and reel in the dust, quite literally, as a fish juts out of water, till he would come into the master's contact, whom he would try to unfold in his little arms as furiously as a moth tries to devour the lamp. When Agha Baidul went to Iran to bring the boys for Baba's ashram, there was a man named Shahriar Mehrabanpour, who upon hearing Baba's name, all of a sudden, his heart felt that he has to go right away and meet him in India. With much difficulty, he had to borrow money and find his way to go to India. And when he gets to Baba, after some times, Baba assigns him the duty of looking after Ali Akbar or Majnun. Baba tells him to follow Ali Akbar everywhere so that he would not hurt himself. He was in such intense love. And, practically he was like a fish out of water. And he will, Shariar talks about this. We have a video made that Shariar in his own voice, we have the audio and made it with pictures that you see him as a grown-up, then later on, both Ali Akbar and him younger when they were there. So Baba had told Shariar not to touch him and follow him wherever he goes, to keep an eye on him. And basically, Shariar talks about the intensity of Ali Akbar's love and everything that follows. Let's take a listen. Jai Baba.
بعد یکی علی اکبر اینقدر عشق داده بودش که بابا گفت همراه این میری که اذیت خودش نکنه، دستم بهش نمیدنی، هر جا که میرفت برو عقبش برو که اذیت خودش نکنه. ما هم میرفتیم. روز اول که یکی مش زد تو بینی ما که خون ریخت اون میون، اما نبایست دست بهش بزنم، نبایست دستش بگم آیا چی؟ بیا خون بیا بزنه، هر کاری میخواد بکنه. هیچی. 6 ماه همراه علی اکبر بودیم، هر جا میرفت پیش بابا که میومد میرفت دیر پیرهن بابا، هر مثل بچه که شیر میخواست شیر بخوره میره پیرهن بابا میرفت. بندم که همراه این علی اکبر بودم همیشه مست بیقرار، نمیفهمیدم کجا میرم کجا هستیم چه کار میکنیم تا برمیگشتیم. این علی اکبر اینقدر عشق داشت که هر جا آب بود این شکمش میگذاشت رو آب که خنک شه. به من میگفت شهریار آتش گرفتم، سوختم، آتش گرفتم. بالاخره هر روز این کارمون بود. صبح تا دور میرفتیم. به علی اکبر میگفتم آقا من گرسنمه، وقت نهاره، بچه ها رفتن نهار میخورن، ما هم حالا دور شد، چقدر راه اومدیم، کی میرسیم به اشرم. بالاخره گفت خیلی خوب بیا بریم. رو که میگردون رو 2 دقیقه نمیکشید میدیدیم که میرسیم. اینقدر کمک با حضرت مهر بابا مثل ترنی گرا میره، مثل ماشینی گرا میره، پیاده راه داشت میپرید. می اومدیم میدیدیم بله بچه تازه نشستن نهار خوردن، ما هم نهار میخوردیم. بالاخره 6 ماه همراهش بودیم. آخر ولله اومدیم با حضرت مهر بابا گفتیم من الان دیگر ولله اومدم، همراهش نمیشم. گفت خیلی خوب برو، من خودم نگهدارش، من خودم هستم.
Lord Meher, March 19, 1928. Meanwhile, the atmosphere in the ashram was undergoing a transformation. The soil of Mehrabad that was once wet with tears was no longer so. Baba explained, these sparks of love, once ignited, can never be put out, but to feed it, some kindling of individual efforts is required. Once the fire is sufficiently fed, instead of being extinguished, it will go on increasing automatically without the aspirants even thinking about it. The fire increases to such a degree that a time comes when the aspirant cannot bear its heat and wants nothing but to cool it down. Look at Ali Akbar, how he's changed. He was so often repeating, I don't want God. I don't want anything. Only cool down this all-consuming fire in my heart. But to put out the fire means to render the boy unconscious. This is the intermediate state between the fire and the light. But I am not going to extinguish it yet. To bear the burning of the fire is necessary in order to see the light. And once the light is seen, the pain of burning disappears. There are no more suffering and agonies after that. Let us see what comes of Rostam's trip to the West. The love will not be as it was in January. No more sparks sprinkling now. It will be done in another way. By turning the eyes of the newcomers inward, they will be shown the light, but without making them pass through the fire of love. Now, this is the most important what Baba says here. The final touch will be given to all the boys through Ali, who is the link through whom all will get the light of love. Jai Meher Baba.
Jai Baba, it was a beautiful introduction from Lord Meher and the boys, and it's nice to kind of know what the state and what experience they had when Baba was giving them these discourses also. The discourses about creation and how it all came about. And we covered, some of these discourses in the previous sessions. These sessions, hopefully, we can kind of scan through 3 of the discourses, 7, 8, and 9. Here we kind of overview some of the discourses and try to get the gist of it. Baba, on December 7th of 1927, on Wednesday, started again giving a brief overview of how it all came about, basically. And he, you know, you can imagine, and it's better to imagine the worldly gross examples that Baba has put out to the real reality of the things that Baba brings up. And Baba makes the example of an ocean. Baba calls it Darya. Darya in Persian is a big, big ocean, basically. And the example, if you look at the ocean, still ocean, the ocean that doesn't have any wave, it's just quiet. That Baba says is like the God unconscious. And the urge, the initial urge when it comes and makes that movement within the ocean. So the movement also is part of, the activity of the ocean. It doesn't come from an external force or anything. Baba says everything is within the ocean, within this God unconscious. And as soon as the movement comes, and you can again imagine the movement of what Baba talks about with the ocean's movement. When the ocean, the still motion, ocean starts moving, the wave starts rising. And then through the wave, as it rises, you can see that there is an emptiness or voidness within that wave. And Baba makes exactly the same exact thing. He says when the wave starts rising with this movement, the emptiness also starts getting created. And this emptiness, Baba says, is basically is created a lot of drops, a lot of foam, a lot of wave bubbles, Baba called them, and drop bubbles and foam. If you look at figure 6, for example, Baba in the past explained this, that there are drops, drop bubbles, and foam. Now, what are these drops? Baba says these drops are basically light globes. They are, the growth that is being created by the creation point. If you look at figure 8 now, you can see Baba designates A as God or Darya or the ocean, B as a creator point, and then Baba puts out 3 different rows of light globes or spheres. On the left is D with 1, 2, 3. On the right is E with 4, 5, 6, and C in the middle is basically group of 7 with A, B, C. Why Baba is doing this to explain to the boys about the planets, that is being created by this motion, by this void. Motion with the void basically creates all these planets, the jiv, or they call it, atma, or the drop, the soul. So the drop, which is part of the ocean, is already created now with this movement, and which is the energy. The movement is the energy, and the void is, Baba calls it pukal, pukal, or pukal. Pukal means, something which is empty, void. Now, when Baba puts these in these rows, Baba says, okay, there are all these planets there are, many, many planets which basically only have maybe gas on them, and they are uninhabited. Baba says the only inhabited planets are basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, close to the home point. Now, this is an example of many, many of these planets. Baba, at some point, also in God Speaks, mentions that there are 18,000 planets with human life on them, and millions and billions of planets with subhuman life on them. And then here, Baba just makes a small example of such planets to, explain it to the boys that what these planets are. And then Baba says, okay, there are planets with only stone forming. And then there are planets with stone and vegetable on them, or water on them, stone and water, and then stone and water and vegetable. And then there are planets only stone, water, vegetable, and animals on them. And then eventually, Baba says these three planets, A, B, C on 7, on the group 7, they are planets which have human form on them also. Are there that they call them worlds or the stars, or what we see with our naked eye, or even with telescopic scientists see these things. All of these are basically what has been created through that on point. And it's being created. Baba explained previously that these are created continuously and continuously also being diminished. And it's so innumerable that no one can even count them, not even the perfect master. If you remember in the past, Guru Basti Maharaj and Baba tried to count them and gave up because the one has to stop the creation of these to count, and in that sense creates duality, and the avatar can drop his body through that. That didn't happen. But that Baba made the example because he wanted to send across to the boys that there are innumerable planets like that. So, this was a little example of what Baba gave on December 7th. And December 7th, again, Baba, refers to, emphasizes that, on figure 9, that God, the ocean, and the creator, which is the on point, caused all this chaos and creation, and all this came out basically through nothingness, through that void. Now Baba says, what is, how is this evolution created? Again, Baba again, talks to the boys, tells them about, how this is all created. It's because of that movement. That movement was an energy or a universal pran, Baba called universal energy. And then the vacant, as we saw the wave, tumbling, the vacancy in that wave, or the open space, or the emptiness or hollowness, or Baba called it the Kash, came about. And then, every thing that we can see with our naked eyes in the gross world also came about. But then Baba says, this nothingness, that Baba calls it nothingness, came from everything. So came from God. This nothingness also is part of God. And and then Baba says, the movement, the energy, the universal plan gave rise to the subtle world. And then the vacant open space, or Akash, gave rise to the gross world, or basically the world that one can see or feel with the physics. It's the gross world. And the one and the one that is unseen is the subtle world. It means unseen by the gross eyes. There is a different eye that sees that subtle world, and a different ear that hears, and all that Baba has made an example of and talked about. Now Baba brings for expressing the emptiness or this pokal. Baba gives an example of Hafez's couplet. He says, جهان و کار جهان جمله هیچ اندر هیچ است. من این نکته به 1000 بار کردم تعبیر. So this is a full couplet of Hafez. Baba gives only the first section. It says جهان و کار جهان جمله هیچ اندر هیچ است. Means the world and all its workings is nothing into nothing. And again, Baba says this nothingness is there. It's within God also. And this is interesting. I read this portion of it maybe from the book. It says, we conclude therefore that everything is nothing, and in nothing there is everything. So the whole imaginary world which is nothing, everything is also within that nothing that that one has to experience, that everything which is God. Now God is the everything and universe is the nothing. So if anything is real, God is real, and the path too is real, the path to God. Everything from top to bottom in a straight line. And Baba gives the figure 10 that again, God conscious on the 7th plane, put God unconscious at the bottom, and then the path, which is first plane, second, third, up to the 6th plane and 7th plane, which is God conscious. So Baba says the path is real, God is real, and the world is imaginary. So apart from Ishwar in that picture, Baba says, apart from Ishwar and the path, all else is false. And that Baba concludes, the Wednesday, 7th of December, and the next day, Baba talks about, emphasizes on this again a little bit, and then goes into explaining everything and nothing and emptiness and all that. And that is on Thursday, 8th of December of 1927. And Baba says, where we left off from yesterday, we're going to, explore more on that. And the exploration again, Baba, brings example of knowledge, which is everything, which is light, which is, Baba calls it forepart or fullness. And then opposite to that, Baba says Paramatma, the opposite to Paramatma is ignorance. The opposite to everything is nothing. The opposite to light is shadow. and the opposite to Burpa, which is fullness, is emptiness. And then again, Baba explained that in the original state of ocean, which was quiet, Paramatma was sleeping. And basically, that knowledge was ignorant because the knowledge was still. So when knowledge is latent, is still, that is ignorant. And then Baba says, knowledge here knows that it knows nothing. So that knowledge is ignorance, basically. And when it wakes up, which is to say, when the ocean begins its movement, then knowledge knows that it is ignorant. That then, when the movement comes, then the knowledge knows that it is ignorant. Now, Baba says, knowledge is present and knowing is present. As the knowing that I'm ignorant, this also is present. And Baba says, kind of explains further that and says that knowledge and Barpur, which is ignorance and equal to ignorance and Pokal, basically. Because knowledge not knowing is ignorance, and Barpur fullness is there, but at some point, not knowing becomes empty. And again, Baba goes further and explains that when we say God is unconscious, we mean that knowledge is ignorant. And it follows that ignorance is in the knowledge. And by the same token, Burpa, which is the fullness, contains Pukal, which is emptiness. And after saying all this, Baba says, when knowledge knows that it knows, then it is Sadguru. Then basically becomes the perfect master. Now knowledge knows that it knows. That is a knower of all. And again, Baba explains about the energy and the Akash, how this came about. On figure 11, if you look at, Baba talks about energy and Akash produce the universe. And knowledge or Paramatma, knowing or universal mind, when it started moving the Pran, which is the divine energy, with Akash, they clash. It's like the wave breaking, the ocean came, the wave broke, so it clashes. And the lightning causes the jib. This clash brings up the lightning, which causes the jib, which causes the whole universe to be solidified, the whole growth to be solidified. Means the four elements of fire, water, air, and soil. They all came to existence. And Baba said the original existence was the existence of electron, which the scientists got to that point of knowing, the electron, but going beyond electron, which means beyond the gross form, gross body, the scientists cannot and never go and can never understand because it's become subtle. And one only with a subtle conscious can understand that. And this brings up a nice point because originally, if you look at the ocean, the still ocean, uh, then there was no movement, God unconscious, but it was only God, only God, but unconscious. And with the movement, the whole creation came about, and now the whole creation, if we look at it with the external eyes in the gross world, it's everything is in motion basically. Electron is in the motion, everything is in motion. When this motion becomes a still again, God can be experienced. And Baba gives an example in different places. Says, if you have the piece of a frozen lake, you will realize me. Means that the motion within, and the main motion is the motion of the mind, which causes all this chaos. The mind is thinking all the time, is moving, everything is moving. And when the mind comes down, it calms down. It just becomes still. Then God can only be experienced then. And Baba brought those boys to the point of loving by explaining this to the boys, and then gave them so much love, and told them to create love to the extent that the mind became still. When the love comes, the mind goes. The extreme degree of love, uh, the mind cannot even function. The mind baffles, and the stillness will come, and the realization will come. And one goes through the planes of consciousness, as Baba explained. So with that said, we come to the last section of today, which is Friday, 9th of December, 1927, and it's a small, brief explanation that Baba gives, but he says it's very important to, to know all these, so the explanation of the remainder becomes easier. This is how Baba is telling the boys. He says, I will prove this again, for if you grasp this point completely, you will understand further explanation easily. Today I will explain this in the three different ways. So Baba is explaining again the real, the subtle, and the gross in three different proofs to the boys. Now, the first proof that Baba brings is the proof of the ocean analogy. And the second proof is on the aspect of knowledge. This is Baba refers to the table number 1. And then the third proof is on the aspect of God and the cosmos. So first proof is the ocean analogy. And Baba says, the ocean, Darya, is there, is still, is not moving. The movement comes, and the emptiness comes with it. And when that happens, basically, the whole creation comes about. And then the analogy, the second analogy Baba talks about is about knowledge. It says, the knowing is there, means God. And then knowledge is basically knowing is God. And then with that knowing, ignorance also comes. And therefore, knowledge knows that I know not. When knowledge starts, when the knowledge starts knowing, then know that I know not. Basically, with the knowledge, when the movement comes with the knowledge, the ignorance is there too. It comes with it. Baba say, why so? Why is that? Because, as we have seen, ignorance is inherent within knowledge, and ignorance means I know not, or I don't know. Now, this knowing that we are speaking of, this knowing that it does not know, where does it come from? From knowledge also. So within knowledge, both knowing and not knowing exist, but latently. So it's latent in there. Does not know means ignorance within knowledge. Then knowing as well as ignorance both abide. Both are within God, basically. And then the third proof that Baba talks about is God and cosmos, or this world. He says, Baba says, God is knowledge is equal to Darya, or the ocean. Energy is knowing and is the movement. Akash is the ignorance or the emptiness or the pokal that we talked about. And so Baba says, now we prove that Darya contains both movement and emptiness or hollowness. Then again, we proved in B that in knowledge, both knowing and ignorance in here, by the same logic, we now conclude and take as proven that in God are energy and Akash. So, although this whole cosmos and illusion is illusion, but it's within God. And only Baba talks about in different ways and different places that only through this illusion one can experience the reality. Like if there is, if someone doesn't know what night is, doesn't know what day is, so the night has to be there for the day to be appreciated and experienced. And that is why the whole thing that we maybe call it bad, maybe call it, disaster, maybe call it chaos in the world, it has to be for God to be appreciated and experienced. So without the cosmos and the illusion that God is within God also, the reality cannot be experienced. The God cannot be experienced. So, as Baba said, in God Speaks, that the illusion that sustains the reality, basically. Baba dedicated God Speaks to the illusion that sustains the reality. So without this illusion, reality doesn't mean anything. Anyway, that Baba concludes those proofs of the three different proofs, the ocean analogy, and then the aspect of knowledge, the second proof, and the third proof was God and the cosmos. And with that, Baba concludes the Friday 9th of December.
All these wonderful talks Baba gave to the boys, going over them with us. Going back with what you were saying about the mind, being, still like a frozen lake until we get to experience the divinity. And, what I, in the beginning with the segment, that Baba was talking about in Lord Meher, that that the fire, the love that Baba was giving these boys, Baba was saying this is necessary for them to see the light. And once they see the light, the pain of burning goes away. So it's interesting that fuel, that fueling of the engine was ignited by Baba, that fire. And then the I guess, at some point, some of them saw the light, or, whatever level they were in. But is that somehow connected to where does the stillness come in exactly? Is that when the light is seen or experienced by the boys? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, from what I grasp from what Amr Sanjar was talking about, especially, was that Baba told them create love, and then Baba instructed many of the boys, especially, Svander was telling me that Baba gave me ways of meditating, repeating his name, imaging him within me, and quiet. Basically, that imaging and repeating God's name or Baba's name brings that stillness. Although the mind in the background is working, but slowly by practicing this, at least this is what Amu was telling me, that once the practice becomes and you start creating that love and feeling that love, the stillness will come. I mean, the mind baffles over what is happening here. The mind cannot even function at some point anymore, and has to stay aside, say, let it go. A better example might be a mass, of God. A mass basically has little or no consciousness of the world, of the gross world. He's absorbed in loving of the beloved, and a lot of the affairs of the mass happens instantly. I mean, they don't do anything through the mind. Their call of the nature or whatever comes is done instantly, like like an animal. Mostly, all the things that they do is by instinct. Is not through the mind. And then, so that love has taken over. The mind has almost gone, and eventually the mind has to go for the divine experience. There is no mind for the divine experience. It's all heart. It's all love.
Yeah. With regards to Shahriar Mehrabanpour, he, in the clip that he was describing, as he was instructed by Baba to be with Ali Akbar, who was called Majnun, all the time. And obviously, Baba, he had told him not to touch him, but we with him. What he was experiencing was, he's saying he himself, Shariar, was feeling like a must. He didn't know when he was with Ali Akbar. He didn't know where they are, what is going on, what there is happening around them. He was just like so also, how do you say it, immersed in that love, being just near Ali Akbar. So the intensity of Baba, the love that he had ignited in this boy, was just so overwhelming, and it just blows my mind that what was going on there, and all the Mandali there who were there with Baba, what they were experiencing, at this time. I don't know if there are any mentions of that in Tiffin lectures or anywhere like, the lectures Baba was also saying.
Probably, but the experience of the Mandali was different, and Baba made it that way. The boys' experience were different than the Mandali. The Mandali, Baba wanted them to be in the world because he wanted them to do his work. If they got intoxicated or didn't use their physics or the physical mind or the body or whatever, how could they protect Baba's, for example, body? Like Eric some places says, the masses of humanity came and we had to protect his body, to be with the avatar to protect his body. And also Baba would give us messages to give out. So we had to give out messages. So they were like tools for Baba. Baba was using those tools to do his work. So they couldn't get immersed in that love, at least from what Erich was saying, not at least continuously. I mean, so they had glimpses of love, and Baba told them, after one or two or three incarnations, they will be God realized because they were so purified. But in the meantime, Baba kept them that way so they can function in the world and do his work. But for a mass or, these boys, Baba made them intoxicated, made them go through that law. So they become examples of how one must love, how one must emerge in that law. And, like Majnun or Ali Akbar, who was running, and Sheriar was running after him to protect him, he would say, I'm burning, Shariar, I'm burning. And he would, at points, anywhere he would see a puddle of water. This is what Shariar was telling me, that he would put his tummy in that water and to cool off. And, it's like a burning tree in a forest, that other trees next to it eventually catch fire and start burning. So Shahriar had the same feeling, this is burning. I'm next to this fire. So he was, feeling that. And Baba many times said that I reveal my divinity only to a few. I am for the masses, but I am for a selected few. Why? Because he was keeping, is like a glowing lamp or big fire. Baba was always enclosing himself, not letting people know even sometimes his divinity. He would, travel incognito, not letting people know his divinity because people would get attracted to him. He would, and that would cause problem for him because he had to do his work, so he couldn't be there and reveal his divinity to every single one who would be in contact with him. Sometimes even he would play ignorant. There was a good example of, I think, Elizabeth Patterson or Norina. Somebody brought somebody to Baba to introduce him to Baba. And Baba didn't pay any attention and was very cold with that person. And then eventually she left, and Norina, or I don't know if it was Norina or Elizabeth, anyway, asked Baba, Baba, why did you do that? I mean, she had a good influence. She could have done a lot of work for you. Baba said, she didn't have the link with me. So these the fortunate ones are the ones who have the link with the avatar. And it's not It is not for everyone. Baba says that also. It is not for everyone to be a lover of God. Because he doesn't want that to happen. He doesn't want it to happen. It's like the ocean doesn't want to come over land and, basically flood the whole land. Because then the whole, creation will diminish. And the game is over. So he doesn't want that the game to be over. He wants some selected few to come closer to him, to feel and experience that love and go through the plains and become one with him. But in the meantime, the masses are ignorant and slowly coming up. This is his game. It's the natural. There was a fellow Irani that came to my mind. His name was Ardashir, and he had come to know Baba through Ramjoo or Bua Sahib, later named Bua Sahib. In the early days of Baba in the Manzil al-Mim, I guess. And Ardashir was pestering Baba all the time, I want God's revelation, I want God's revelation. Baba told him, why do you want God's revelation? No, I want God's revelation. Baba told him one day that, okay, if I give you God's realization, it's like the whole ocean coming into your cup. Is that what you want? Ardashir was taken aback. He said, oh my God, that means I will drop my body. So I don't want that. And then he stopped pestering Baba. So that's exactly what happens if one. So it has to happen gradually and naturally. It cannot, happen immediately. Immediately, it causes a lot of problem. It's like the fourth plane, power that suddenly someone misuses it becomes a rock because the consciousness breaks apart, becomes a rock. So Baba doesn't want that, doesn't want something to happen quickly. There was another master, it is a good example too, that the disciple was always pestering him, I want God revelation, I want God revelation. You can give me God revelation, why don't you do that? And the master says, well, you are like a greasy pot. And if I give you, God revelation is like, I throw this greasy pot in the fire. I can basically clean this pot in two ways. One is to throw it in the fire, and the fire will burn the grease, and the pot will become clean. But this has no use anymore because the pot itself is going to be destroyed and has no use anymore. But I can grab this pot, start basically cleaning it with some sand and, ashes and soil. Slowly, clean it. Then the pot gets clean, but it has use. And then he says, you are like that pot. I don't want to throw you in the fire. I want to have a use for you. And that's why, it has to happen gradually. So when one becomes realized, can help other souls. This is the beauty of God's work, that, the whole thing happens gradually, and one who realizes or even is on the path can help other souls, to come to this knowledge, this from ignorance to knowledge.
Beautifully said. Thank you for the explanation, Farshid John. Just like to bring one more point, what in the Lord Mayor Baba pointed out that the final touch, to the boys will be given through Ali Akbar, that the light of love will illuminate in all of them originating from Ali Akbar. That I thought that was very interesting. But kind of what you were saying before also kind of I was thinking, like, beside this, I was thinking of Amu Esfandiar, how, when we were close to him in Iran in our meetings, there was a radiation of love that, I think, we all experienced, but none of us really maybe talked about it. But I felt that. I felt like whenever I was close to him, like I was sitting, I felt like it was so calm. It was so, I don't know. I guess that's Baba's love, that we were seeing through him or feeling it. I guess you must have had that experience too. Am I right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Even strangers, had that experience. Um, I remember we were in one of the Sahavas in Los Angeles, and the photographer who was taking the group photo, mm, he took the photo, and after that he came and sat next to me, who I was sitting next to Amu, and he came and sat to me and said that, in my life, this is the photographer telling me, not knowing anything about Baba, anything about group, anything, nothing. He had been invited to come and take a photo of the group. And then he came, sat next to me and said, in my life, I've seen and experienced two spiritual man, two spiritual atmosphere. One, he explained somebody somewhere. And then he said, the second person that I experienced is this person sitting next to me. So strangers would feel that love. I think, when one gets closer to God, the divine impressions become more and more in that person. The gross sanskaras diminish, slowly diminish, and the divine impressions accumulate. And that divine impressions, which is basically, love itself, uh, is felt more or less by the surrounding people, even, surrounding creatures, even animals, feel that love. There was a story of that turtle. I don't know if you have heard or read about it. There was a turtle who, when Baba had come to Myrtle Beach, to the center, um, he would come every day when Baba was giving, darshan at the bar. He would come every day at the foot of the bar, where the stairs are going to the bar. He would come there, stay there, and then he would go when Baba would go. And after Baba left the center, that turtle never showed up. And Bob Brown, I guess, wrote a story of the turtle. So you might be able to dig it out. But I know it's somewhere, the turtle story. So those, are there. It's his game, but it's a beautiful game.